I mean, my job as a mother is to help them realize that there are things that they can do in terms of writing and studying and learning.
Will the impact be worse on a Kansas City child versus a child, say, in New York or some other part of the country?
Well, I think that the devastation in terms of concern will be equally great for all children. But I think for Kansas City children who recognize certain landmarks, it will be of more concern. I mean, it's one thing to live in New York and to have no relationship to the Liberty Memorial, but when you live 6 blocks away from the Liberty Memorial and you see it devastated, it becomes more meaningful. I know as we drove down here tonight, we all looked right from the traffic lane and sort of breathed a sigh of relief that the memorial was still standing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Metzel. Larry?
Brenda, a movie such as The Day After provokes many different types of thoughts, some of them previously unthinkable, such as, what if there was a nuclear attack on Kansas City? How well prepared is our civil defense system to cope with such a disaster? With me now is a man who has done considerable research on civil defense in the Kansas City area, City Councilman Frank Palermo. Councilman, does Walt Bodine have a point? Do you know where the nearest shelter is?
Yeah, City Hall would be the closest shelter to where we are right now, Larry. I think Walt is absolutely correct. He says it's a joke. I don't know that it's a joke, but certainly we're in very dire straits as far as our preparedness for this type of activity. Now, Kansas City does have an emergency preparedness plan.
How do you assess it?
And it's primarily for tornadoes and fire and things of that nature. I don't know how we would handle the devastation of a nuclear attack. It seems to me that the emphasis since the 50s and 60s has subsided quite a bit. There was a lot of enthusiasm during the Cold War, and there was some enthusiasm during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Sounds like it needs some educational effort.
It certainly does, and perhaps this movie is just the impetus and push we need at this particular point in time.
Frank Palermo, thank you very much for joining us.
Larry.
A few personal thoughts now on the utter finality of tonight's teledrama. Since the beginning of the American experience on this continent, we have faced extinction by foreign powers. We have recruited, drafted, and formed armies to guard our land, navies to patrol our waters, air forces to protect the skies above our borders. And that has all sparked debate, consternation, fear that has divided the American people over nuclear deployment and the actual cost, both human and economic, to safety net our soil, and the soil of foreign lands where we as a nation of free people have vested and invested interests. It's that ever-evolving debate that has spawned revolutions of our own making in this country, isolationism, doubt, and a decade-by-decade awareness that America is not invincible, rather a vibrant element of global life on the planet. Life that could be snuffed out or denigrated at the punch of a button for real or imagined offenses. With that realization, we join with all the peoples of the world, the family of man, if you will, in sharing the terrible fact that all human life could be ended or maimed at any time over any world spat. Each day literally begins and ends with the possibility, remote or unimaginable, that it may be of elimination. There is no place to hide. Few safe caves. It's that overwhelming. That is how this teledrama hit me tonight, a news broadcaster into your home, the father of 5 children in mine. I, like you, can only research history to see how the free world beat back the Nazis. So-called final solution. I can learn from the numberless attempts since ancient times by those dictators who ruled by brute force and destruction. I can study the warmongering hysteria of those conducting power by the sword, those historically ruthless people bent on evil domination, bent on worldwide control in its most cataclysmic sense. But and this is the singular scary part of this night. I and you have no way to research ultimate nuclear devastation. I am able to picture the human disfiguration of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I can measure the relatively limited destruction, but that's where it ends. By design, the ultimate nuclear threat is utterly different, utterly final, utterly over, utterly total. No peoples on the face of Mother Earth have collectively shared in this same fear at this same time. Distance does not remove ultimate nuclear destruction. It would be just a matter of waiting. The end is too well imagined. To those arguing for more sophisticated nuclear development, more arsenals, more defense silos for ready-to-fire missiles, we ask, how much more? For how long? With what planned fail-safes? And to those lobbying for the burial of nuclear warheads and stockpiles, tight treaties, a new world understanding, we ask, How much can be trusted to the political heads of nuclear-armed nations and to those emerging countries wanting the nuclear edge to dominate and conquer? The characters in the movie tonight, and it was a made-for-television event, could well be as real as the people who joined us tonight to share their views, their fears, their concerns, their insights, and their positions. The groundswell this movie is making will no doubt be debated at family gatherings as well as in the war rooms of world capitals. We can only pray and hope that we do all get to watch the end of the world from just our television screens, and not from the skies above our Lawrence and Kansas City neighborhoods. Thank you for sharing the past hour, for decompressing with all of us. Brenda?
Thank you, Larry, for those special personal thoughts. Coming up immediately is ABC's special Viewpoint program on national and international reaction to the day after. Ted Koppel of Night